Hello and welcome everyone for this session today, which specifically focuses on what organizations, industry at large can do for veterans to ensure transition. We have veteran leaders, industry leaders from across the globe today with us. And before we get started, I'd request each one of you to do a quick round of introduction and then you move forward from there. Yeah. Sham, we can restart from you if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rashmi, and thank you for having me on this panel. Um, Hello to all my fellow panelists as well. I go as Shambhavi, and in my work capacity, I am associated with Aditya Birla Center for Enriching Lives. It is a Section 8 company which is focusing on certain cohorts which are the contributing members of the urban aspirational India. And while we were, chalking out which could these cohorts possibly be, one of the, one group that we were looking at were the Armed Forces Veterans Group. And we were talking about how this particular cohort is such an important part of our economy in terms of the skills they bring to table and that's how we were seeing how do we as an ecosystem come together to support their journey, their transition. And here I am. I lead this particular cohort at ABCEL, and I'm happy to be here on this panel today to bring in my thoughts and our ideas from ABCL to this table. Thank you.
Thank you, Shambhavi. Thank you. Varun, you want to go next? You're on mute.
Funny, it always happens. Okay. So, hi, I'm Varun Nair. Yeah, there's one thing I do want to introduce myself as, and this is what I was for 20 years. I was in the Armored Corps. I was a half colonel. After 20 years, I left. And then, ever since then, 28 years now, and still in corporate life and still working. I guess by this time you've been there, done that. So I've been the CIO in for Genpact. I've been uh, a business leader. I've been CEO for some startup, and a lot of other stuff. So a lot of the past and a lot of the present still going on. So I thank you for getting me here, Rashmi, because this is really good. I fundamentally feel if we can give our veterans just that little bit of a push, just a little bit of that outlook. There are no regrets after that. They just got to cross that little bit. So I look forward to this discussion. Thank you. Ashley, maybe you next.
Right, thank you. So I'm a senior partner at Triton Exec, which is a global executive search consultancy. I run a practice that is responsible for about 700 to 800 executive hires each year. And we place across about 32 countries. So global exposure. Our specialty really lies in what we call transformative growth. So changing the DNA of organizations. So diversity, equity, inclusion, all of these things are like front and center of everything that we do. So obviously with the Veterans Initiative in there as well. I'm super passionate about that. Kalpana, over to you.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, I'm Kalpana, and as a working professional, I manage an incubation program on uh, nanoscience and technology at the Center for Nanoscience and Engineering in the Indian Institute of Science. So we incubate startups that work in the area of semiconductor technology, bio-nano, solar, quantum computing, and nanoscience and technology. My interest here with this group is to really explore with the India Semiconductor Mission and a lot of focus on semiconductor manufacturing in the country. How can we find opportunities for the veterans who are technically qualified with a little bit of orientation with the semiconductor industry? How can we find opportunities in this huge sector that the country is trying to build? Uh, so Rashmi and I have been talking for a while now to see what are the things that interventions that we can do, and that's what brings me to this panel as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. We're going to maybe start, Varun, with you. He happens to be a veteran. He happens to be a veteran on industry side as well, having spent, I think, 2 decades this side as well. So I think I'd like maybe, Varun, you to think back as you were transitioning, say about 20 years back. And obviously things have changed since then, but some of the challenges, some of those nuances still remain, and still kind of haunt us in terms of how veterans get hired and integrated in organizations. So would you want to maybe quickly share about your own journey and what you believe we could start with?
Yeah. So, I've been asked this question often. So, let me give you that one example, and probably Rashmi, you're aware of it. But that one example was that I was at 20 years, I was being interviewed for a position in Cambridge Technology Partners as the head of operations and all. And at the end of it, the CEO then, right, asked me, he says, uh, everything's fine, Colonel, but you'll be dealing with very young people, etc. And well, I was around 40 those days, and he says, from IITs, IIMs, premier institutes, in a consulting company. I mean, how are you so used to a disciplined life, everyone following orders, stuff like that? So, and he kept using the word colonel a couple of times and all that. And he says, so how do you address that? And I think the answer I gave him probably just clicked it, because I looked at him and I said, you know, you've been calling me Colonel all this time. When I walk into your office, I'm just Varun. So I drop all my attitude, all my pretensions, all the past. I come as a fresh, I empty out my cup and come to you. Now, when you empty out your cup, you still have, the discipline, the leadership, the understanding of all of that. But unless I do that, there will be apprehension from the other side, because this guy is too straitjacketed. In fact, the common thing was, oh, he's coming, so he's going to make us carry laptops around, run around if we don't meet our SLAs and things like that. So that's what so I think, the whole attitude of who you are and what you bring to the table and what you have to drop and what you have to embrace is what's so critical. Rashmi.
Absolutely. I think that cultural shift is a big one in the head also, as people transition, and also, and how people approach, right? Anyone else wants to add anything before we move ahead?
Yeah, it's interesting, Varun. You mentioned an assumption about something that could be a negative to an organization, maybe that rigidity or that kind of hierarchy thing. Were there any, on the other side, assumptions of things that you would bring to the table, which actually was not something that you would necessarily have with the background?
Sure. Yeah, I just want to add that all of us change jobs. And the armed forces is another job that you had where you learned some skills. I have, for example, worked in a steel plant. Then I have worked in an IT company. Then a company that worked in analytics, academic institute, and now I'm running an incubation program. Each time that you move roles, you have to unlearn something and relearn something.
So true.
And that is what is the attitude required. And I think the misconceptions about skills that people develop in armed forces, like Ashley mentioned, right? Uh, Not everybody is just leaders or management. Um, there are people that have core technical skills. Why are we not creating jobs in technical roles? The defense forces are one of the major consumers of cutting edge technology. And people are running and building cutting edge technology in the armed forces. So why not leverage? Why not create strong individual contributor role? Why necessarily hire them? And the way I see veterans choosing roles is mostly they go in for a management specialization as they're exiting and end up in management roles, which may not necessarily be the right alignment. So when people, even in the armed forces, are thinking of career shifts, they should not just think of themselves as managers or leaders, right? Not maybe you didn't do such a good job of it while you were in the armed forces as well, right? And you might want to do something different. Why not entrepreneurship, right? You have built some core technical skills, you know the technology. Why not pursue entrepreneurship? And today there are a lot of opportunities in the country for entrepreneurs. So why have very limited view of what your own opportunities exist in the outside world. And the important thing for everyone is how can you quickly unlearn. 20 years in the armed forces, great, but then you are going out and that's a different organization, and you have to learn about that organization. We all carry something with us as we move jobs, some core skills that we bring to the table. But at the same time, we have to learn new things as well and catch up. And there is nothing called younger generation, older generation. All of us, if we are knowledgeable about what's contemporary and we can talk the same language, I think we will all find careers for us in organizations.
Wow. Sorry if I mean I don't know if it's my turn to respond, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing that out. That it's not only leadership roles but even individual contributor roles. And the army is like a huge organization, and you've got people, especially at the grassroots, who for example, people who are actually network engineers, people who are actually telecom engineers, people who are actually doing all the IT work. There is the mechanical engineering. So there's a flavor of different supply chain. I mean, you name it. There's a lot out there. I think it's just a matter of us putting the right conduit in and putting it to the right place. I always tell my guys whenever I speak to someone, don't just look for any job. Look for the job which fits your profile and you. So thanks, Kalpana. That's really, really good. Rashmi.
Yeah. Shambhavi, you want to add something? Please.
Yes, just building up on what I heard Kalpana and Varun speak about. One, while we were also having these interactions with veterans, we also realized that a lot of time the focus is on jobs and not really career. And so
Yeah.
when they come out, the focus is so much about, let me just ask my seniors, or let me go out, ask my other folks, what are they doing? Can I apply in that particular organization? And as the military trains officers mostly, it's about to get the job done. So whatever comes their way, the task still continues. They have to just get it done rather than really focusing on, is this really aligning with the kind of skill sets that I bring out? Is it aligning with the kind of values that I look forward to? So the focus has to shift from that job roles to career as such. And I feel, it's a bridge that we need to build. While we talk about veterans, they're trying to find their space out there. But at the same time, even organizations really struggle to understand the kind of vocabulary any military folk brings out.
Of
So
course.
they don't know. So whatever is available, and mostly they are so driven by their own stereotypes that, oh, if it's a military folk, then probably they will be a great fit for their security roles, or, as Kalpana mentioned, management roles. There's so much beyond that. And I think that's where training and sensitizing the hiring managers also comes into place. That if we have a profile, and this is something what we also heard from a lot of hiring managers, most of the time veteran resumes also look the same. So, even the veteran is somewhere struggling to put their skills out there. And at the same time, there's a hiring manager who has no clue what they were doing. They will read words like adjutant, and then they're like, hey, what does this mean? Because we really don't know what it means to be an adjutant in the civilian, workspace. So I think the sensitization has to happen at both the ends. It's not really just fixing the veteran, as most of the, the industry folks, or even otherwise, when I hear people, it's like, oh, we need veterans to be doing this. They should be upskilling here and there. But we are trying to say that they do bring certain skills. So we need to understand how do we put it in right place. And right place exists. We are not even saying that it doesn't exist. It does exist, but it's just the kind of language, the lexicon that both the ends are using. Probably that's where that space is something where we still need a lot of work, particularly in Indian context, is what I would say. So yeah, just summing up on that.
Absolutely. And I think this is where Shambhavi, like organizations like ABCL, veteran support groups, we at ACOM also try and do some bit of it to ensure there's an awareness on both the sides, because that's a big gap. When you don't understand the love language, you can't converse, So I think that's a big one. And obviously, one of the things which I have personally seen, especially when officers are transitioning, there's also, they want to get placed real quick, for some people who don't have a backup of, say, a pension, not 20 years plus. So they are definitely looking forward to kick-starting their career sooner than later. Obviously, maybe with a young family, there are responsibilities as well. But yeah, you're right. Not just focusing on admin, security, because those are given I think anyone can do that. Looking beyond it is something that takes a lot of great resilience, patience, and of course, learning that trade, right? All right. So I think we've spoken about veteran side of it. Let's talk a bit about how corporates can prep, because there is a fair amount of responsibility at our end as well to ensure um, it's not just a DEI number that we want to hit end of the day, right? How do we ensure there is a proper endorsement, there is a thought process behind the integration plans that we put together, or how do we integrate them, how do we bring them in, which roles do we bring them in, are we patient enough to maybe just handhold people for the first 2 months, 3 months, which by the way goes with any hire, you know so there in the first 6 months you cannot even rate a new hire anything, because we just say it's too new to be rated, right? So similarly, are we patient enough, or do we have a biasness already in our heads that veterans, different system, different setup doesn't work? Because if you come with that mindset as a hiring leader or a business leader, then it's not working out as an organization for you. So I'd love to get some reactions in terms of what can be done at the corporate side with something more tangible, measurable things that we can do to ensure it's a win-win both the sides. Yeah, Varun.
I'm sorry. I've had a glitch here, so I have to. Can you hear me now?
We can. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Is it okay if I switch my? I know it's a bit. I switch my camera off because.
Yeah, please go ahead if it's important.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So could you repeat yourself a little bit, because I lost out last thread.
Sorry, I was saying, what is it that we could do from the corporate side to ensure as veterans are
Okay.
transitioning, we are building the right ecosystem and make it a win-win for both the sides? We can't hear you, Varun, if you're speaking. Maybe we come
No,
back
I
to
didn't know
you.
if I had. Yeah, maybe. So
All
I'll
right,
just pick
all
up the
right.
thread. Ashley, maybe you
So,
want to go first.
Ashley,
Yeah.
why don't you go first?
Yeah, I think it was interesting the last point that was made with regards to the vocabulary and talking the same language, and I think context is super important. And I think one of the things that we can do to help assimilate people coming into the organizations, into more corporate environments, would be to bring in cohorts and kind of bring people that are from similar backgrounds to help them explain the terminologies and even like hierarchies, for example. Like, what does a particular level mean? What does that mean in a corporate term? Like, is that a manager? Is it senior manager? Is it an AVP? All the different things, just to translate it into and give context on those things. And I think the second piece in terms of the assimilation would be to remove those assumptions of, hey, we're talking about the same thing. To remove it, just using basic things like show me, tell me. So rather than saying, I'm assuming that you're talking about the same thing as I'm talking about, asking for a little bit more of, okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Can you show me what you mean by those things, to remove that assumption and talking at cross purposes? I think that's something that can really help with regards to assimilation. And then to the kind of more tangible piece, I think most organizations, moving away from it being a number or what we need to do, I think it's actually really important to track success, and use those success stories, identify why was that person successful. Was it a trait-based thing? Was it how they were assimilated into the organization? And really focus on learning from, hey, we didn't just bring this person in. We saw them over a period of time be really successful at these things. This is why they were successful. How can we replicate that again? How can we tap into people from those sorts of groups to be successful, and use like the halo effect of, hey, this is a really good success story.
Absolutely. I think the whole point that you brought about, bringing the right set of people, and it's really important. And also those that kind of creates that safe space also for people. And then the whole buddy program can also run because you have veterans in the system to get more veterans in, right? All right. Wonderful. Wonderful.
So if I
Shambhavi?
could just, yeah. If I could just quickly come in here, I definitely appreciate those, those points. And Rashmi, as you also mentioned, there are these buddy programs, and there are a lot of initiatives which are happening. While we were doing our research, especially with best practices that are happening in India presently, we also realized there are a lot of replication of models which are running in other countries, which are being adopted here for Indian veterans. But there is still these some loose ends there, because the landscape could be very different as compared to other organizations and the kind of sensitization awareness that runs in other parts of the world. So that's something that comes to my mind when I was hearing Ashley out. Secondly, I have a little different opinion here, because I'm looking at this whole piece in a more holistic manner. When I look at a transitioning officer, I feel it's not just this one individual, but there are a lot of other stakeholders who also have a role to play here, right? From, I think, that transition, even though it might be those last few couple of months when they are going through the pre-release course, or they are, trying to settle down or picking up on which city I'm going to settle, where is my family going to settle, while all these things are happening in those last couple of months, I think transition is something which hits them pretty early. I mean, before that, at least a year, 2 years timeline is what we are looking at. And I think that is the time when the hand holding should actually begin. It's not really when you're out there and then saying, hey, what do we do now? How do we upskill? I think that is where that urgency, that need to just foreclose to something that comes my way happens mostly. And it's then they are even ready to take up packages or compensation which might be much lower than what they were already receiving in the military as well. So maybe that hand holding is something which should start early. And that would mean it's not just the veteran, it would also perhaps mean the armed forces. It would also mean corporates who are sensitized enough. And how do all these stakeholders come together for that hand holding to happen and that translation to happen as well? Presently, all the models which are working, which are doing fine, but when we look at impact in terms of numbers, there's still a question mark, is what we understand right now. There are a lot of these programs which are operating pretty well in India, but how many of these officers really retain in those roles? How many of them really rise in their careers after being part of those 6 months internships? That is something what needs to be revisited, according to me. And if there are gaps, then how do we relook at those gaps? Is something that maybe corporations should be looking at, veterans themselves should be looking at. And I still feel armed forces as an organization also have a great role to play here in this space. Yeah, and we'll pause there.
Yeah, yeah. Just adding to what Shambhavi said, I think it is also about the right expectation setting when you are moving out of a organization like the armed forces to a civilian role. Early on, if the expectation setting is done in terms of the job roles and job profiles, and like how we do for campus recruitment. So there are companies that go in the fifth semester, sixth semester, and start engaging with the students to kind of give them a flavor of what industry roles are available and what will happen when they join the industry. There are companies that also offer training programs specifically for bespoke roles in their organization. So let's say if I'm a retail company and I have a certain kind of skill set that I'm looking for, I offer a program in retail management in the college, and students who take that college then become my talent pool for future job roles, right? So interventions like Shambhavi mentioned early on from all the stakeholders, not just the individual, right? Even corporates have to have a strategy for how they are going to bring this group of people. Like they have a strategy for campus, like they have a strategy for lateral hires, they need to have a strategy for veteran. I don't think there is any company out there which considers veteran as a talent pool for whom they should have a strategy. Once a company starts thinking like that, I think the whole thing will come together. They will start understanding what is this talent pool, what kind of skill set this talent pool is bringing, what do I need to do early intervention, is there adequate volume for me to even pursue this and have a strategy, right? People are talking about DEI strategies. why not have a veteran hiring strategy as well? Because this is a huge talent pool. We can't just let go of that talent and not use that talent, right? So I think when organizations start putting together a strategy, campus placement is a huge thing in all the companies. There is the whole mechanism set up on how to do campus placements year on year, right? Why not have the same kind of a thing for veteran hiring and then systematically look at talent availability, look at what roles they will fit into, then how do we start talking about changing their mindset when they're moving into these roles? How do that transition, phase works out? So I think collectively everybody has to work together to put together this strategy if we want to successfully utilize this talent. I think so. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because my father was also in the armed forces, and he's a veteran himself. And when he came out, he got hired very easily, immediately, because he is a strong technical person, and the companies that hired him for his technical skills. So I still believe that the country can, leverage some of the talent that's available in meaningful roles if the engagement and intervention start early on.
Absolutely.
Wow. So, Kalpana, I think, you so hit it on the head. If I may, every CXO that I have spoken to has always said, "Oh, yes, we must hire veterans," right? And then they mark it out to, let's say, the talent acquisition team or the the recruiting team, etc. And then it just dies out because there is no agenda, there is no fixed program. Just like, there is a directive now that, and not so long back, that you have to focus on, not only you have to focus on diversity, for example, or you have to focus on differentially, people who are, with handicaps, etc., a certain percentage, or things like, when that mindset, strategic mindset, comes into an organization and they start owning it. I'll give you examples, like, for example, GE. I mean, they believe in it, so they have a program which then you have to go. I mean, they go through it, and then they're looking at how many veterans have they hired and things like that. So when you have that focus, it makes a lot of difference. I think where, Rashmi, you all come in is really to build that platform so you can get those people in with their programs and then connect them to the veterans, and who are the veterans who are to be, if I may, right? So it's really great to actually move to the next step. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone also feels, it's a moral obligation to do that, because that's a little bit that I can do for the country, because I couldn't go on the borders, but I can do this bit. So no one says no, but the how is what we really have to execute on. And how do we enable all of this?
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with Varun. Everybody that I talk to, they all want to do it. Yes, they sign up for it. But then after signing up, what next? Right? So that's where I think what you are doing, Rashmi, is very important. Create a structured platform where this whole dialogue and enablement can happen. Because nobody says no, because everybody does believe that they have an obligation towards the veterans who have made our lives peaceful and, but then what next, right? And at a CXO level, CXO will agree, but then where is the whole, plan or the process for actually making that happen?
Yeah.
So that I think is very important.
And that's a big one, Kalpana, Varun, that you guys bring in, because there's so many different stakeholders involved. It's not just veterans and corporates. There's government, there's defense, there's ministry, there is whole armed forces and how. And obviously, this is a very sensitive data pool also that we are talking about. So you can't just get data from anywhere. The moment I speak to a DGR or AWP or any of these organizations, they're not going to shell out data for you. And I end up talking to so many veterans, not veterans, sorry, people who are still in service, people who are commanding today, but they're thinking ahead. They're saying, after 3 years, I want to work outside. Not just because I'm not doing well here. I'm doing very good here. Command, matlab, it's done. It's good. They will make it to the next level, but they want to experience something different from what they've been doing. They're very excited about this next phase. There's a huge, big lot, super excited, but clueless. What do I do? Which area should I go to? Which roles should I target? And then, we sit together, we look at their profile, what they have done, and then I kind of help them map the industry. That's number one. Narrow down the industry, then get to the role. First, you have to prioritize what is important for you. The role is important or the right industry. As Kalpana, you brought out technical skills. You want to get into leverage that technical knowledge. But I also see people with technical knowledge a little underconfident at times, saying that it is different in military and corporate and civilian parlance. So I want to maybe do a little lighter role. There are people who might want to go that route also, right?
So, so Rashmi, I have a thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Imagine that TCS was this huge organization like the army. And imagine that those veterans they're all veterans and they're all going to come out. Now, we all would want, as organized corporates, etc., will obviously want those people in. What would we do? Does all of TCS fit in only in one role, to take away from what Kalpana had said earlier about, just the leaders and all that? No, there are the ground workers, there are people in different, for arms and channels and factories and, the IT side. There's so much out there. So I think
Absolutely.
if you just start, and we end up invariably talking only about the officers, but there is so much more that happens at the ground root, at the JCOs, junior commissioned officers level, even at the NCOs, their level, and how we can utilize all of them. Therefore, you'll need to have different kind of programs for these people, because they have at different parameters, right? You're looking for leadership, okay, officers and maybe senior JCOs and stuff like that. You're looking for hands-on individual contributors, then specifically in, let us say, in supply chain, or you're looking for in the food industry, there's the supply army core, the AMC core, the doctors. I'm from the pharma industry now, right? So all of that is something which is useful for you. So segregate that out, divide it out, and then you can't boil the ocean. You select what you can really do by organization. And I would go to a Kalpana, I'd go to an Ashley and say, okay, what exactly is it that you would want? And then you map out that a lot of people, give them that type of training, then it probably could work. Otherwise, it's too huge. It's
Yeah.
five
Too
times, four
huge,
times
too
the size of.
diverse. Yes, yes. And that's
Yes.
where I
Yeah,
think
and
we
I just
mapped it
wanted
on
to
that problem. Yeah. Please, Kalpana, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what Shambhavi said earlier, that their resumes look alike, right? I think there is some serious help that is needed for people to articulate their
Yes.
skills. If I'm a communication engineer, I'm a communication engineer, right? And the tech might change, it might evolve. It'll just take me a couple of months to pick up what that new tech is. But fundamentally, I have communication engineering skills, right? That articulation, and I think, Rashmi, I see you playing a role there, where individuals are
We do
not
that.
fitting their profiles into a standard resume template that somebody has given them. And this is a problem across board, not just with veterans. This is a problem across board for people to articulate the skill and the value they are bringing to the table versus just a template that they have filled it out, right? And that, I think, is going to help people. That's the first step for people to find out where they want to go and what is the skill that they're bringing to the table, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. I think resumes are very important, and many
Yeah.
struggle with it. And that, I think, goes back not just the document, the whole introspection, because
Correct.
resume is a piece of paper, but you're going to
If-
sit in front of an interviewer explaining what you did. So you need to have thought through, you need to have those pointers ready, and you need to be absolutely clear what you have done and where you want to go to, right? So I think that introspection is super important, and then aligning it to the role as we go about. All right, fantastic.
So
Um,
taking a sliver of that, Ashley, I just had a question for you. If you take a sliver of that, let's say I'm a veteran, or becoming going to be a veteran, then how in your world would you look at hiring someone of this kind? What is it? And it's very specific to, your domain, your focus, etc. And do you have that full clarity? It'll sort of throw light on maybe what we are missing, right?
Yeah, I think there's two elements, and what everyone's been talking about right now is just resonating with. I think we're a bit too reactive rather than proactive. So a lot of people are coming looking for a job at the end of it because it's a need. And so even writing the resume, it's I'm trying to cast the net wide. It's not specific. I don't know what I want. I don't know how to tailor myself towards that, but I know I need a job now. And so because it's in a reactive capacity, there's no tailoring, there's limited tailoring to say, actually, this is the career. And so it's about engaging and planning ahead. So rather than getting to that exit and saying, right, I just need to cast my abilities or try and make it look as if I've done a bit of everything, being able to actually think, well, okay, what in the industry that I'm looking to play in. So my specialty is professional services. So if you're looking to go into professional services, what part of that organization do I want to be in? Like, am I someone that's very good at relationships and I want to go into more of a front-facing role? Am I more of a technical person? What do I want to do? And then really tailor and have those conversations with people in the industry earlier to start tailoring the experience and focus more on the ability to do and ability to connect with what is needed in the opportunity, rather than just sharing this is what I have experience of. So rather than just kind of giving a broad brush of this is my experience of what I've done, that may struggle to connect with someone that isn't in that world. So it's like, right, you may have experience of that, but I don't understand that. Whereas if you tailor your resume and your profile, if you have those conversations earlier to say, okay, what successful traits are needed to be good in this particular role? Okay, now where have I demonstrated those traits? And focus on the ability to be successful in that new role. I think that's where the connection will come in. So prepare a lot earlier and think about it as a career and shape everything moving towards a chosen thing rather than just, hey, this is what I've done, find me a job. So it's just slightly flipping the narrative.
Great.
Absolutely. Makes sense. And I think that gets to my next question. This has come actually from the veteran community. So we did a bit of survey to understand which area they would want to get some guidance on. So entrepreneurship came across as a very interesting area, many fancy getting into, but obviously it comes with a lot of questions in their head also. Not just the financial aspect of it, but are they ready? Is this the right approach? Is this the right career option for them? Do they want to do it? So I think what I'd want to put out here and get your reactions on, insights on, would be, do you think veterans are cut made to be successful entrepreneurs? And if they are, and if they're not, then uh, why yes or no? Both the ways. So I think I would love to get some reaction on that. Varun, I would want to start with you. You have been mentoring veterans, mentoring startup founders. He's been very kind to mentor me as well. So I absolutely want to maybe start with you and just we pick it up from there.
No, it's so close home. I mean, there was this colonel. I'm not taking any names, etc. and all, and many who've come in and got replaced and things like that. And again, a little bit of unlearning you have to tell them to do, and otherwise. But I know one person who's also very close to me, and he started this job, and then he realized that as we were getting to talk, that he says, I can do this job anytime. I can. Why am I putting all my skill sets here such that I pass it on to an organization? Why don't I just do it on my own? And it's so simple. And this was, of course, in the IT world, in the cybersecurity world, and all. Oh, we've gone so far ahead that between him and I, we started a startup on cybersecurity for the last 1.5 years, 2 years. Touch wood, it's growing. It's one more of the businesses that are doing. But the point is, you know, everyone's not cut out for that entrepreneurial role. You have to have a certain mindset for it, and also an ability to take that swing, because you will fall on your, wherever, and you will have to go through those rough rides. And are you prepared for it? And my sense is, as an officer or all of them, they've been through that, and they have enough to keep going even if things go bad, right? uh, Ashley, to your question, I want a job, but let's say even if they don't have a job for some time, can they manage? Do they have a runaway? They have a runaway for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I've known no one who doesn't have that. And then the opportunities will come. There's a God above, and there's your own, initiative. And there are good people like all of you over here who will kind of mentor them and get them that role. So entrepreneur, yes, uh, but you have to be ready and prepared for it. Don't just take I'll be an entrepreneur and, try and take a swing. You may, you may not just see the end of it happening very soon, right? So all of that. So that's my input and all. The bulk I would not think would be entrepreneurial. They
Hmm.
are, there's set drills, set things that you need, but they are
Yeah.
different domains for sure.
Hmm. Do you
Sorry, go
think they
ahead.
are more likely? Do you think, Varun, they're more likely, because that's what I think, they're more likely to go for a very structured job where they know the output that they have to
Yes.
produce. Veterans are more successful in such
If,
roles.
if you really look at it, and to quote one of my Colonel Das, who's a very close friend of mine, again a veteran, been with Cisco for 15 years and all that, and he says, these folks here, us as the veterans or the army, knows how to get things done. You give them a job, you give them specs, they will do it. They will find a way, they will do it because that's their job. And things may not be, so it doesn't have to be crystal clear and all, but the goal has to be clear to them. And you give them the tool sets and say, this is what it is, they get things done. Well, that's actually altruistic also, At a national level, yes, they are the ones who are holding all this together. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Sambhavi.
So
Um,
I don't think entrepreneurship has to do anything with being a veteran or a non-veteran. Um, it
I agree.
is uh, it is somebody's ability to take risk and as have a belief in what they want to do, and also be agile enough to change courses because if you're very adamant about a particular thing, you're not going to be a success. You have to be able to be, you have to be agile to change courses and build along. And I think unlike other entrepreneurs, veterans have an advantage because they have a runway, they get pensioned, right? So they don't have to worry about monthly, their basic monthly expenses to be taken care, which is a huge challenge when we look at
Yes.
student entrepreneurs. When we want to encourage students to pursue entrepreneurship, it's a huge challenge because, there is a lot of pressure to start earning. Whereas the veterans, since they have already worked for some time, they know what it take. They have the discipline to build and have that structure. So I think entrepreneurship is not really about where you come from, but where you want to go. And I think some of the technology that the country needs, especially in areas like defense tech, etc., can be best developed by the people that have used this technology and have the know-how
Yes.
versus somebody sitting in a college and trying to figure out what defense needs. See, a lot of my challenge when I'm evaluating applications for the incubation are there is hardly any customer discovery, and customer discovery cannot happen with the defense, right? I can't just go walk into an outpost and say, tell me what your technical need. It doesn't work that way, right? So I think systematically we should encourage people to look at entrepreneurship. And what's the worst that can happen? You can fail, but so be it, right? You have given it a shot, you've tried it, right? And at the same time, you are not burning too much. There is some kind of financial, cushion that you have that you can fall back upon. But I think there is an opportunity for us to create structured entrepreneurial program for veterans to consider,
Yeah.
especially technology kind of
Yeah.
startups.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to. But anyway, you can edit this out and all because I'm talking too much.
We will
But
not do that, Varun. No, please go ahead.
but it's like now from what it was earlier, where there used to be just one single bread earner, right? Now, I mean, you take Rashmi, your example. You're also earning, and so is your husband, who's working in the army too, right?
Yeah.
And in my regiment, there are almost all the officers who are currently there. Their wives are have got great jobs to work on, etc., and they were doing it remotely, and it works. And therefore, if once one of them decides to move, it's so much more easier because you got one foot on the ground, right, as they say in the army. So I think it I, I think if you decide to do it, then you do it. And I also think, careers are now no longer, the army and then after that corporate. I think it's like almost three types, right? One is what you do before like the first 20 years, then the next is what you do to get to that 50, 60, whatever age you want to call it, right? And then the third one, when you got to stop worrying about your finances and what's in the bank, and the lights will come on and the food will be there and all the rest of it, is when you truly probably find yourself and you say, this is the area I want to really work in. This is the place I can consult in. This is the place I can teach in. And then you realize it's not one job, it's multiple things that are open to you. And I wish I could urge even veterans to look at it like that and then step into that other than just going to retirement. Look at our age, how the age is. What was 60 earlier is now probably 80, right? So, but nothing else has changed. We still retire at 60 or whatever, but everyone lives till 80, God willing, right? And probably beyond. So things have changed. Why aren't we changing? Sorry, I got carried away. You can edit. I'd love to hear from you, Ashley. And
Yeah.
some of you, you've been rather quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think what I'm hearing here and actually reflecting on is it's really a gift, right? So when you look at entrepreneurs, a lot of people go into it when either they have nothing to lose because there's nothing to lose, or they're comfortable enough that they won't fall on their face. And most people enter the world of work and their obligations increase year on year on year on year. And therefore, they have to continue in this stream. It's very difficult to make a lateral move or start again or anything like that. I think veterans have a unique opportunity by building up experience. So they're not in that kind of fresher thing where they know very little. They've built up experience, life experience, understanding things. And it's an opportunity to reflect back and say, hey, I'm looking at what I've done, what I know, all these things. It's an opportunity in life to be thinking about, okay, what is next? Most people don't have that opportunity to think what is next, because what is next is I now have to pay. I now have to pay for this or this or this or this. That's next until I retire. So I think the gift is actually the opportunity to reflect and make an active choice. So whether that's entrepreneurship or anything, I think it's a fantastic gift. So that people, again, going back to the being more proactive and thinking career versus job, it's an opportunity to take some time to go, what do I actually want to do? And I think that's the best thing here.
Yep.
So
Shamvi, you
just
want to
quickly,
wrap it up?
I think Ashley,
absolutely.
what you said is true. Ashley, what you said is true, not only for veterans, it's true for everyone.
Everyone.
It's
Yeah.
just true across the board. Profound.
Love
I'm
it.
going to echo what Kalpana started off saying with, when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's irrespective of whether you're a veteran or you're not, it's more about mindsets that is something what we are talking about here. And when we talk about entrepreneurship mindset, in fact, interestingly, we had also undertaken a focus group study. We had invited 20 veterans who are now entrepreneurs in India, and they're doing pretty well. And we had this interaction with them to understand what helped, what were the kind of challenges they faced. And if we are looking at a new batch of entrepreneurs who are budding entrepreneurs, what would they want us to do for them? And in that particular study, there were quite a few insights which came in, but if I have to just highlight the first three, one was there is a clear, absence or ambiguity around where do they tap into as network. Because while they are in the forces, they do not really have that kind of access to network, which probably others might have when they are into the journey of entrepreneurship. That was one. Two was about, besides this network, how do we also get access to resources, financial aids? That is also a part which probably people who have been spending a lot of their living years outside military might have access to, but that is where the challenge was. And three, there was also a gap in terms of if there is any kind of academic institute which could come up with a course which is more veteran specific and veteran centric. So right now, the kind of courses which are running are general courses which are simply being offered to veterans. There's just one which is right now available under the PRC list as well. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, there isn't any which is centric around the veteran mindset. So these were a couple of gaps which were raised during the focus group discussion as well, which we conducted. And having said that, if we could, as an ecosystem again, look at offering all these resources, be it opening network, and further building up on how do we really help them to incubate. I think that is one piece which has been missing in a lot of these. The maybe rest of all of that is available, but how do we do that hand holding during incubation? If that can be established, I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs and veterans who would be really willing to go ahead, take that entrepreneurship journey ahead. And as Varun mentioned, yes, times have changed. I think there is a huge chunk of officers as well as personnel below officer ranks where the spouses are also working. So they are mostly from double income group, and there is a backup there. So I guess that's a great platform to leverage now. And given the market, I think with time, we need more entrepreneurs. So if we can prepare our veterans as well with that whole hand holding, I'm sure they do have that skills, mindsets. It's just about how do we channel them and help them leverage that.
Absolutely. And I think thank you so much everyone for bringing those key pointers. And I just want to call out that, as we talk to clients, especially who have such channels to manage where they see a potential, I always pitch them that maybe if not an entrepreneur, at least get someone who will just own it for you. So entrepreneurs in their own systems, and that gives a lot of confidence to the veteran. And I've seen some very high potential ratios cracking on that role and doing exceptionally well. And then they gain confidence in a year or two, and then they go about setting up something of their own. So yes, there are organizations we are looking forward to working. There is one organization who's already put together a veteran an entrepreneurship accelerator program. And they're looking at bringing in veterans and helping them with marketing, funding opportunities, setting up things for them. So yeah, exciting times. And I love, Ashley, what you shared. Not everyone gets the second shot. Make the most of it. And I think that's what we'd like to wrap up on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for making time today. It's been a pleasure hosting you all, and some fantastic insights coming on today. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of veterans.